In this class, we've been learning about making scientific arguments. We learned about claims and how a claim and the evidence that support it make up an argument. So for this part 3, you're going to need your annotated article and also a paper that looks very similar to the one that you saw yesterday. The difference is instead of it being about the sliding rocks, it's actually about a geologist at work. Making arguments is an important part of scientists' work and something Garzione was doing with her work in the Andes Mountains. So if you take a look at one of your annotated parts of the article, I want you to notice that on the first page there is a lot of questions. It talks a lot about collecting data. In the second paragraph here, it explains that at first Garzione asked questions, and then in the third paragraph, I just want to remind you that she then began collecting data. She was measuring, sketching, taking rock samples. If you look at the back for page 2, then you can also see, so flip your paper over, that she starts to make a claim. She says here the land must have been pushed upwards to form the Andes Mountains within the last 40 million years. This claim describes how and when the Andes Mountains formed. Something else you can notice on the back is this part here on the left, or sorry, the right. This is called a time sequence diagram, and you can see this is showing 40 million years ago how the rock would have looked, and then over time, over 40 million years, we have rock is pressed from both sides, because what we have here is we have one continent and then an oceanic plate, so two plates, tectonic plates that are pushing towards each other. And as you'll remember from our unit, this is a convergent boundary, and you can see that as they're pushing together, the rock begins to be pushed upwards. And then now we have these high mountain forms. And so Garzione is making this claim, and she's using evidence like fossils and things to support her claim. Together, the 4 diagrams show changes to Earth's surface over time in a way that would be hard to show with just one diagram. Since geologists study changes to Earth over time, a time sequence diagrams are particularly helpful. What you're going to do now is with your partner or the people at your table, the same people that you discussed part 2 with, is go back into the text and find evidence that supports the claim represented by the time sequence diagram. And then, as you're talking and discussing this evidence, make sure you're pointing out on your paper where the evidence is coming from. If the handout that you had doesn't have a lot of annotations on it, now would be a good time to add those annotations to your article. And the next part, let's take a look at this time sequence graphic a little bit more carefully. You can see we have a title that's going to be giving information about all the 4 diagrams. There's labels that make it clear where the ocean is and where the land is. There's different descriptions that describe what's happening. Some arrows show the direction the rock is moving, and there's some color coding. We've got some black and gray and different shading that helps us understand how the different rocks formed. Take a moment to annotate the time sequence diagram. So add evidence to your time sequence diagram. There's lots of space on the paper for you to do that. You can choose to label the rocks as either sandstone or mudstone, as well as draw in or label some ocean fossils in that sandstone and mudstone. Show where the evidence comes from, like where did you get this in the article? You might consider putting a little star or an asterisk in the article where you found it. And then ask yourself repeatedly, why does this evidence support the claim? And you're going to take this information and you're going to complete a scientific argument diagram. So first thing you're going to do is notice that we have the claim, which is when and how did the Andes Mountains form. And then we have Garzione's claim, which is there. And then what you're going to do is find evidence from the article that supports her claim. And you'll write 2 pieces of evidence, one in the first circle and one in the other. And then underneath, just like we did yesterday, link it back to the claim. Why does this evidence support the claim? So when you're finished with this part, and you can work together with your group, then take a moment to staple your original annotated article to the back with your looking for evidence, the geologist at work, scientific argument on the front, and staple those and turn them into the inbox.